Welcome to Getting Sketchy Live, brought to you by thevirtualinstructor.com. And now, let's get sketchy.
Hello there, everyone. Matt here with thevirtualinstructor.com, and welcome to Getting Sketchy Live. What we do here on Getting Sketchy Live is we try to create a drawing for you inside of 45 minutes, and we also sprinkle in some entertainment and instruction in there as well. And tonight is episode 3 of season 12. I had to think really hard about that. If you're watching this live on YouTube, of course, we're glad to have you. And if you're watching it sometime in the future, of course, we're glad to have you as well. Ashley's going to be doing the drawing tonight. And Ashley, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Matt. Thank you for asking. And I hope you folks are doing well and ready to draw along. The materials are pretty basic, and you can use materials different than mine if you'd like to. When we switch over, I'll be glad to talk about the reference and the materials a little bit more before we start.
Absolutely. So we'll get in that in just a minute. But if you are watching this on YouTube and you're watching it live, there is a chat box. You can ask questions and post comments and just have a nice little discussion with all the other people in the chat box. If you do have a question or comment that's directed specifically at Ashley or I, we ask that you use the super chat function. That will get your comment or question highlighted, and it will also support our channel. So if you would do that, that will be helpful. And we'll read your comment here live for you and answer your question if you have a question. And if you're new to the channel, or if you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future Getting Sketchy episodes, and also all of the single lesson videos that I put out here on YouTube, of course. And if you haven't already taken a look at the membership program, you are missing out. Just head over to thevirtualinstructor.com. We have the membership program, which includes a ton of drawing and painting courses on a variety of subject matter and media. There's weekly live lessons, which after this broadcast, Ashley and I will go live for members over at the Virtual Instructor. And there are weekly critiques as part of the Members Minute and a year-long curriculum for visual arts teachers. All that's part of the membership program. But we have a lot of free lessons over at thevirtualinstructor.com too. Some of the lessons are not on, well, all of the lessons in the membership program are not here on YouTube. And a few of the lessons that are free are also not on YouTube either. So check out thevirtualinstructor.com, of course. And of course, as I mentioned, if you want to check out the membership program, there is a link in the description below. Everyone starts out with a week-long trial for free. And then beyond that, we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. And the price is very, very, very low, especially compared to other programs out there. So I would highly encourage you to check that out. If you want to just check out 3 of our course videos and ebooks for free, and also more importantly, get on our mailing list, there's a link in the description below for that as well. So I would encourage you to check that out. You can do that anytime you wish. You can do it now if you wish, or you can wait till after the broadcast and watch it, which is great too. Also, if you want to have the photo reference that Ashley's going to be using tonight, you can head over to the community tab on the YouTube channel. Now, to get to the YouTube channel, you have to click on the little icon of my face in the corner. That will take you to the actual YouTube channel for the Virtual Instructor. And then you'll click on the community tab, and there you'll find the photo reference that Ashley's going to be using tonight. We'll have it up on the screen as we do the drawing. But if you want to have the reference and you want to spend more time than 45 minutes on your drawing, then you can do that, of course, by visiting the community tab on the YouTube channel. All right. Am I forgetting anything?
Why don't you say something about next week in our schedule?
Oh, you're so wise. Yeah, we have decided that next week we are going to take a break. So I know we just started this season of Getting Sketchy, but we are in the summer here in the United States. This is vacation season, and my family is actually not even in the same city as me right now. And next week, I'm going to go and stay with them. So I'm going to be gone next week. I've made the executive decision not to travel back here to the studio next week. And next week, I'm just going to stay with them. So we're going to take a break from Getting Sketchy and the live lessons next week. But the week after that, we'll be back on course with episode 4. And I'll be doing the drawing then. Don't ask me what I'm going to be drawing. I've already got some ideas, but
okay, good.
Nothing defined.
Nothing
all right,
concrete.
Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I think that's it. Let's switch over and talk about our reference and our materials.
All right, let's do that now.
All right, so you can see the reference on the left, and our paper is Canson Mitant's paper. on the right, and it's got two surfaces, two sides. Tonight I'm going to be drawing on the slightly more toothy side, the slightly more textured side, but both would work. And I had originally planned to use Colorline paper, thinking that I had black Colorline paper by Canson, and I had Mitons instead. But I'm actually more than fine with that. So slight change there from our original plan. Let's talk about the reference a little bit. You're probably familiar with the Lego Man, an iconic character. Movies have been built around the Lego Man or the Lego people. But this is sort of a memorial picture for myself. This is one of my son's Legos. And like millions of kids across decades, Legos have been, for some kids, their number one toy that they played with and imagined with. And that was the case for my son. We still have thousands and thousands of Legos at my house, but he's kind of aged out of playing with them. So this is sort of a memorial to a portion of his childhood that has waned a little bit. So, ode to the Lego Man. However, I wanted the image to have pretty high contrast. So I lit him and I took a lot of photographs, and then I started lighting him from below, and he started to feel big and scary and ominous. So I tilted the camera a little bit just to make it a little bit more precarious, maybe a little bit more ominous. And so I've taken to calling this piece Legozilla. Not different than Godzilla, but Lego instead of lizard. So, right. So we're going to pretend like this is a big Lego monster, and we're going to draw him that way. And so anyway, that's sort of the background on this reference. I took about 30 pictures of the Lego Man, and believe it or not, this is the one that I settled on. We're going to start with...
now, wait a minute. When you said you were having a photo shoot,
yeah,
you were having a photo shoot with a Lego Man.
Right.
Yes. Was he a cooperative subject?
Yeah, he was. You'd be surprised how good he was at taking direction.
Did you have to twist his head?
I had to twist his arm.
And just to kind of go back a little bit, Ashley mentioned this, but I just want to reiterate, in the description right now of the video you're watching, Colorline paper is listed, but Ashley switched to Canson Mitons pastel paper.
So that's my fault.
If you're using Colorline paper, it's going to be pretty similar.
Yeah, that's right. All right, now the paper itself, let's go ahead and talk about our materials a little bit more, is 6 inches wide by 7.5 inches tall. And I believe that is a 4:5 ratio, 4:5 ratio. So I don't know, it's not a standard size, but it's a standard ratio rectangle for art making. And I'm going to be using Sakura oil pastels. This is their small set, their more basic set. These are artist quality oil pastels, and I can't remember how much I paid, but they're pretty new. So they're very new, and I still can't remember how much I paid. It was only a few days ago, but I think it was like $12, something like that, maybe $9, $12, or $15. Those numbers are standing out to me. But in any case, they're a little bit more expensive than some of their crayons, their sort of standard student grade crayons that I've used before on the program with variable results. So I went ahead and got an artist grade set. It's actually a very small set from what I had had at one time. I think I used to have a set of 30 of these, Matt, the square sticks by Sakura years ago, and I loved them. So
yeah, do they have craypa on the side?
Yeah, they do say craypa, but then it follows with craypa specialist.
Oh, gotcha.
So this is the specialist line.
Now, craypa is the type or the brand name that Sakura has added to the oil pastels.
I think so.
It's kind of like when people say, "Will you hand me a Kleenex?" when they mean a tissue paper.
It's sort of become
right,
like Coca-Cola.
So if you've ever heard someone say, "I did it in craypa," that means they did it in oil pastels.
Right. They may not actually mean Sakura.
Right.
So I did a little test just for comparative purposes. So this is the yellow from the student grade set over black paper. You know, I love to draw with oil pastels or pastels on black paper, but sometimes yellow on black can be a little spotty. It can look a little bit green. And so this was the student grade, and this is the specialist or artist quality grade. And you can see it's just a tiny bit brighter, a little bit more covering, it's a little bit smoother, even though, of course, this is the speckly side with the more textured side of our Mitons paper. This is what we're going to do, though. So what this is, at least for the head of our Lego Man, we're going to put a little tiny bit of white down first. and not so much to kill the chroma too much, but to give it a little bit more covering power, just to take out a little bit of the green. So this had a very light application of white. You can still see it around the edge with some yellow over it. And then tonight, we're going to use our tortillans. I'm not sure if I say that right, Matt.
I don't say anything right.
Yeah. So I'm the same way. So hopefully, if I said it wrong, you can see them here. And so we're going to kind of paint a little bit, do some mixing and blending. You can use your fingers with oil pastels, just like with oil paint. It's not like graphite where your fingers are going to introduce oils that are going to be damaging or darken your artwork. But I'm going to try to use these just because our artwork's not crazy big and they're very precise. So I believe that's it, other than just a regular pencil. It's a drawing pencil, but it is an HB, so it's the same pencil weight or darkness as a number 2 pencil. So if you just have a yellow number 2 pencil, that's going to be fine. I think it's going to show up well enough, at least for an initial contour drawing before we move to the oil pastels. All right, I believe that's everything, Matt. I think I've mentioned all my materials, so we can go ahead and get this drawing started.
Okay. A lot of people like the photo reference that you have created.
Thank you.
I think it's pretty cool too. And that was a neat little trick there, putting a little bit of white down underneath the yellow.
Yeah, just a touch.
Yeah. Nice
little
trick.
Yeah, the yellow, I mean, these don't have an opacity rating like regular paint, and I was kind of impressed. They do have a light fastness rating, but the yellow, again, just whatever pigments were used, and I can't tell you what they are because they're in code.
Yeah.
PY1 and PW18. They're not as opaque as I would like. So a little bit of white, I think, is going to help with that.
All right. Well, I'll set the timer then.
All right, let's do it.
And
we're off to the races.
There we go, 45 minutes.
All right, so we're going to start with the big trapezoid that is the body. And the left edge of this trapezoid is almost straight up and down. It's almost vertical, even because of the tilted body. And it's just a little bit to the left of our center, approximately where our center would be. We do have some angles to capture, so I think that's about it for the bottom edge. Not really working with a grid or anything, so we'll be using the side of the edge of our picture plane to kind of measure about how far away some of our shapes should be, where they should fall.
Lori, I see your comment. She says, Matt, we all love you whether you say it right or not. Many of you know about the controversy on how I say the word drawing.
We're back to this, folks.
Well, I had somebody call today, and I was talking to them, and they took the moment to point out that sometimes I say the word picture in a way that the C is not recognizable.
They wanted to let you know.
They wanted to let me know, and I said, well, I think we both know what I'm saying, right? And he said yes, and I said, well, then I guess it's okay.
It's going to be okay.
But my contact, there's a lot of people that see the YouTube channel. There's a lot of people that see the videos that we make. But there's even more people that see, actors and news people on TV. And I just wonder the volume of people that complain about the way that they speak or say words. You don't think about those things until
it happens to you.
Until you're criticized almost on a daily basis on how you don't know how to talk.
Oh, good. All right, so we've got some basic forms here. Think of the head right now just as a cylinder. And I tried to figure out or guesstimate about where the vertical sides were compared to the trapezoid that's underneath. So if I stretch this side out, where would it pass through and into the body? If I stretch this side out, where would it pass through and into the body? Those are the kind of questions I'm asking myself as I put some lines down and maybe move them around a little bit.
And that graphite's showing up really nicely on that black paper.
Graphite shine. Finally paying off.
I know.
I complain about it all the time.
I'm going to be fighting the graphite shine for the next hour after this.
That's right. Matt's working on a really nice graphite piece in the live lessons. If you haven't had a chance to see that, you should join us.
And it is graphite shiny, Tom, just because of the way the lights are positioned.
Yeah, and there's a lot of darkness in the areas you've been working to. So, okay, let's go ahead and get the rest of this body on here. So I'm going to stick with the bigger parts first. Then we'll add the arms on. Get as close as we can to proportions tonight. Let's see.
And Brent does art, so I wonder what happened to Lego Man's face. And that's
a good question.
I know what happened to it.
Yeah, Matt knows. I told him.
Do you want to tell him?
I photoshopped it out.
He took the face off.
Yeah, that's right.
And the reason you took it off was?
I think it makes him more ominous.
Without a face.
Without a face.
Yeah.
Right. He had a big old grin on there. It wouldn't match with the lighting, I feel. All right, I am making some parts bigger. And as soon as I started working on the legs, I realized that I think the body was too small. So I'll make it bigger, and hopefully that'll work out.
Jan says Ashley didn't want to draw the face. But I don't think that's it at all.
Well, I'll be honest. I did think about drawing the cartoon face, and I was afraid it would detract from the artwork.
Yeah, I agree with Ashley. I think that having the line drawing of the facial features would almost be drawing a drawing.
It would be right. It would look silly when everything else is modeled and shaded, and then I just draw like 2 eyes and a smiley face on there.
Right.
I mean, that's what I imagined it would be like. It's like, no, I don't like that idea.
I think this sketch is going to be about form and shapes of color and value.
Yeah.
And incorporating the lines might detract from that.
Those were my thoughts too.
Yeah, if you guys want to add the face on there, by all means, go ahead and do it. But I do think it's probably a better artistic decision to leave the facial features off.
Yeah, and my son has lots of heads that go on these things. So some of them are kind of scary heads, but mean faces and things like that. But I just chose to leave it out entirely. All right. I think it's oh, let's we got to give him 2 legs instead of 1. So we'll split this shape just with a mark. I think there is a tiny little gap between his legs. We can see the background. That may just be the side of the leg in there. No matter. It's a lighter shape, so we'll just mark down about where it's going to be. Trapezoid shape too. Figure out where our splits are. Then we'll move on to our arms. All right, there we go. All right, I'm actually going to go ahead and start with the hand. Not really trying to see it so much as a form yet, just a shape.
And with part of Ashley's head in the camera, you can see just how much. Oh no, you're fine. I'm explaining.
Yeah.
I was going to point out how much you're looking at your reference.
Oh, can you see my head?
You can see your head turn. I think that's important for people to understand, because I think people who are new to drawing don't really understand or recognize, through no fault of their own, how much observation is involved and how important it is to putting the information on your paper.
You want to look at your reference more than your artwork.
Right. At least 50% observation. Yeah. Drawing is at least 50% just looking at your subject and trying to figure out what you're seeing, and looking at relationships between angles, lines, shapes, colors, and values. That's really what it is. That's really what it all is.
Remember that information for a split second. As soon as I look away, I have forgotten it. And I have to keep looking back. So maybe some folks have a... All right, so we've got our overall shape. Now we'll try to find the contour in the middle that divides this into clearly fingers and a thumb. So now we're drawing the thumb.
Can you imagine if our thumbs were that big and fat? They were at least as fat as all of our fingers put together.
Yeah, right. Oh, that would be crazy. You thought your thumb was big now.
You could really grip some stuff.
Yeah, so a few months ago, my wife and I noticed that one of her thumbs were noticeably larger than the other. We're like, what? What is going on?
Really?
Yes. She had like a monster thumb. So we did, what do you think we did?
Nothing.
We played Thumb Wars.
Oh, you did? Did you see which thumb was superior?
We figured she was going to have an advantage and start beating us all in Thumb Wars with her giant thumb. It's not giant. I'm joking. It's probably not bigger than mine. But it was bigger than her other thumb. I'll say that.
Had she never noticed that before?
It's new. That's because apparently it's arthritis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not cool.
It's not cool. And then I noticed that one of my thumb knuckles has been bothering me when I bump it into stuff, you know.
And you
Just
noticed that after you noticed your wife's smaller thumb.
Well, this is more recently. More recently, I noticed that one of my thumbs was a little tender, and then I'll show you. I compared it to. Well, I'll show you all. Can you tell my left thumb is bigger?
Yeah, it is. It's a little.
I think it's
wider.
swollen.
It's a little wider.
I think I've got arthritis in there.
Yeah.
So, just I guess following in my wife's footsteps. All right, one more hand, and it's time to switch to oil pastel.
Yeah, Jan observes that piano playing would be hard with those hands and drawing. Yeah, you're right. Those are things I didn't think about. I just thought about the utility of having a big fat thumb. The things you could grip and carry.
Well, if we had thumbs like this, pianos would be totally different. They would be huge, and we'd have to run back and forth to play them. Okay.
Well, it looks like we can clearly see some of the planes already, especially in the legs.
Yeah. I like to draw very clearly formal man-made objects, and so that Lego man is right up my alley as far as the types of very geometric types of forms I like to draw. Okay, let's go ahead and how are we doing on time? So that took about 10 minutes. Gives us oil pastels move relatively fast, but we are going to be mixing colors in and mixing them together. But for starters, we're going to just get some base colors down. So I'm going to start with the Lego man himself, and then we'll work around him with some grays and blacks. We are going to use some black tonight, but the black will be used in mixtures with other colors. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the head, start with our yellow, and remember, we're starting with white for our yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and try to draw in. I didn't really draw any of the shadows in here, Matt. We're just going to find those in the oil pastels instead of using our pencil for that. So it looks like our shadow's edge is about 2/3 over from the right. Now, I like these square sticks because they do have little corners, but the rounded sticks do just fine as well. They have a forever corner. You think about the rounded sticks as a forever corner. And just a little bit of white. Not too much.
You can really see the texture of the paper there.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're seeing the texture of the paper in your own drawing, you can eradicate that with multiple layers. So I feel confident what Ashley's going to do here.
Yeah, the plan is to really build it up, and hopefully the texture will allow us those layers. Okay, so where we see the white is where the yellow is going to be stronger. And I'll go ahead and put a little bit of this business down here in our hands. Our oil pastels will cover our pencil as we go. And really don't need much over here. There's not much pure yellow. Okay. Matt, I had a heart attack. I looked around and couldn't find my yellow oil pastel.
Oh, it's okay. I have plenty behind you.
I was about to give you the signal. All right, let's go start getting a little bit of yellow down. And I'm going to try to use a lot of analogous relationships tonight. So the colors around red are orange and purple. So we'll use those colors with our red. Not so much. There's going to be a little bit of orange right here where our shadow meets our light in the head, and orange is analogous to yellow as well. So using analogous relationships in our values of a color can keep our artwork, keep the intensity up.
Yeah, Jan makes a good point. If I was watching this silent right now, I would have guessed that this was soft pastels, probably because of the shape. And yeah, I can see that because I think these are the only oil pastels I've ever seen that are square.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, most oil pastels are round,
That's
and
true.
most, well, not most, a lot of soft pastels are square. The Rembrandt soft pastels are round, and other brands are round as well.
I've never seen another brand that used square sticks in their oil pastels either. Maybe that's just try to separate themselves a little bit.
Now,
I don't know that it gives us any kind of an advantage.
I don't want to. I want people to be clear on what Ashley was talking about with the colors. He said he's going to use some analogous colors.
Oh yeah.
He's talking about using analogous colors within each color section. So within the red section, he's going to use some red, purple, red, orange.
Right.
The overall color scheme of this subject, though, is very much a primary color triad. So red, yellow, and blue are the primary colors, but he's using some of those other colors just to add a little bit more depth and interest to the sections, if that makes sense.
There we go. So we're using some orange in here, or where the red is actually being hit more directly by the light, instead of just using red and white together, which would give us a little bit more of a cooler mixture.
Marine asks, is there such thing as oil pastel pencils? And there is, from what I understand. I have never used them. I have never seen them to purchase, but people have told me that there are oil pastel pencils. Although to be honest with you, I'm not really sure how that would work. Because oil pastels never dry completely. So it would be hard to put a medium that never dries inside of a wood encased pencil. And sometimes I wonder if the people who've told me that oil pastel pencils exist are confusing them with oil-based colored pencils. But it's very possible there is an oil pastel pencil out there, since there's a pencil for everything out there too.
Mm-hmm. Seems that way.
So you're laying down a little bit of orange and then a little bit of the red over the top.
Red together again.
Mark asked, do you prefer round or square pastel sticks?
I like the square ones.
And I prefer the round ones.
We're talking about oil pastels or regular pastels?
No designation there.
Okay.
I like round for oil and soft pastels. The oil pastels I like to use are a little bit different. I like to use Sennelier oil pastels, but I also use the Craypa oil pastels a lot of times in conjunction in the same piece, because the Sennelier oil pastels are super soft and they'll go on like paint brush strokes, where the Sakura oil pastels are a little bit harder, as you can probably see from Ashley's drawing, and they don't create quite a relief pattern on the surface. So I like to use the Sakura oil pastels as somewhat like an underpainting, and then put accents with the Sennelier over the top. That helps me preserve the Sennelier oil pastels as well, because they're expensive.
That's true. It's very, very efficient way to work, economical way to work.
Enrique says, "Hey Matt and Ashley, oil pastels can be diluted with mineral spirits?" Question mark.
Yeah.
Yes, they can.
Sure can.
Yep.
I thought about trying to do a little bit of that, but decided I'm just going to stick with the blending tool. Now, where the shadow meets the light in the head, I do want to use some orange. For a little transition up there so far. Okay. Oops. Grabbed the wrong stick there. I'm missing one of my sticks.
Trying to figure out what
Yeah.
Ashley's doing over there.
I'm trying to find a certain oil pastel. Okay. I don't see it. I was looking for my purple, but I have ultramarine. Ultramarine blue is kind of a purpley blue. And just going down on red, it still feels like it's analogous. So this will darken our color a little, just a little bit, just deepen it a little bit. And we'll mix that in again with our red. So now the red body, there is no area where the red hasn't been mixed so far with something. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and stick with our red section and just keep working our way down. And I'm using the background for time management and then also to clean up the edges of our Lego man. So we may go a little bit outside of our contours, knowing that we've got the background to help us with that.
Now, how are you using the background for time management?
I can spend more or less time on the background.
Oh, okay, I got you.
You know, so I'm not jumping back there early, and then we'll treat it with the amount of time that we actually have available to us. All right, so I've lost my little contour here. This little corner created by the arm and the body, and that's again why I save the background sometimes in still life for last. Different than maybe a regular pastel drawing. So I'll cover that part with our background color or scrape it away. All right, now let's get some darkness into that arm. We're using the black some. Lose a little bit of contrast until we do get a background in. Because of that, and this same darkness rides down the body a little bit and around our shoulder, whenever that shoulder reappears.
And Peter has said that he just saw some oil pastel pencils on Amazon, but did not recognize the brand.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that they make them.
They're out there. No, definitely not.
Because they make so many products out there. And some are great, and some are just kind of repetitive that you don't really need, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Shadow over just a touch more. Okay.
And sure enough, I have also found oil pastel pencils.
There we go.
I'll have to check those out. But right at the top is, an advertisement for Derwent colored pencils, which are not oil pastel pencils. They're just colored pencils. Yeah, sure enough, encased in wood.
Interesting. I bet they're pretty hard. I mean, how do they sharpen?
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
I know that's a dumb question.
I'm
Because there's a lot of
reading
ways to
about these.
sharpen,
These are
but
the only ones that popped up, and they really look like colored pencils. Even the drawings that they're showing look like colored pencil drawing. And it says oil-based is sharper, stronger, brighter, long-lasting. So I think that these are listed as oil pastel pencils, but I think they are just oil-based pencils. In fact, under the features and details, it says innovative oil-based core. Compared to wax sketch pencils, oil sketching pencils are sturdier and more pigmented, allowing them to hold a finer point and never finish with a waxy film. This sounds like oil-based colored pencils, which is what I thought it would be. And they're just advertised as oil pastel pencils here on Amazon. So I would be wary. They look to me to be completely 100% oil-based colored pencils.
interesting.
Yeah. And those are the only oil pastel pencils that I see. The rest are oil-based colored pencils. So again, I go back to my original assumption. Just knowing the medium, I'm not really sure how it would work in a pencil form. Whenever you would try to sharpen a true oil pastel pencil, it would be very difficult to do that without ruining your pencil sharpener.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. All right, let's get work down in our legs a little bit. So we're going to start with cobalt blue. Now it's starting to feel like a primary color scheme.
That's a good point there, Jen. She says oil-based pencils and pastel colors. No, these are actually advertised as oil pastel pencils for artists, 48 counts. And then beside it says oil-based colored pencils, drawing, sketching, and adult coloring.
Huh.
So I think that they've listed them as oil pastel pencils, but I think that's misleading for sure. All right, and we have a super chat.
Oh, boy. James.
Yeah!
Thank you, James. Thank you all for the teaching the two of you do. Enjoy the time off next week.
Well, I really appreciate that,
James.
James. That was really nice to tell us to enjoy the time off next week. It's really not a matter of not, wanting to have time off. It's just a matter of travel. I would definitely be here next week, but I have been traveling quite a bit, and I think next week I'm just going to stay with my family. So thanks, James. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. What Mary Elizabeth is asking, what color are you thinking for the background? Loving the contrast in the Lego figure.
So the background is pretty neutral. It's mostly like grays and black, but I want to bring in some color from our Lego man to the background. So I think that I'm gonna kind of make the lighter areas gray, the two darker shapes black, but I want to put red in the darker shapes and blue in the lighter shape or the lighter gray. So we're gonna put red and blue into our mixture of neutrals.
Okay, interesting. Mark says adult coloring in quotation. I think that's funny too, Mark. I don't think you need to designate. At what point are you old enough to be an adult colorer? Is that 18? Is that 21? Is it 16? When do you become an adult colorer?
I guess when you turn 18.
I would think coloring in any form is painting, or if you're using a dry medium, it's drawing. Kathy says you use a sanding thing, not a pencil sharpener. Even if you use a sanding block, it would, with true oil pastels, it would just eat the oil pastel
and fill up that sanding block like immediately. Oil
pastel is incredibly soft and oily. It is like it's like a crayon you left in the car all day on a hot day. So
that's about right. Going over it, anywhere we put black, we're hitting it with a color. So it's just in there. Right. finish plucking in our legs. I haven't really been watching the time at all.
You have 17 minutes left at this
I
point.
think I'm doing okay. We do have our hands to deal with.
Yeah, Jan says adult coloring is a market segment. Yeah, I know that. The books may or may not have an adult theme. That's probably true too. I've never heard of that, but
yeah, many of them have adult themes.
they do?
Yes.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Boy, I am so naive.
I'm not interested in those.
And people color them?
They mostly buy them as jokes and give to each other for birthday and Christmas. And
Oh, really?
has a
Have you
big
got one
laugh.
of those before?
No, but I've seen one. And then everybody has a big laugh. And
I'm surprised
I can't
one of my
imagine
friends has
that
not
anybody
given me one of
sits
those.
around and actually colors some of those pictures in. And some of them are, they're like
Really going through the
adult-themed
flesh
in lots
colors.
of different directions. Like some are sort of like political themed,
Oh, okay, I
just
got you.
that kind of stuff. But nothing that topics that kids would not be interested in. So we'll just say it like that.
I was thinking about the colors peach and other skin tone colors
I know what you
would
would
be
think.
used up quite a bit there in those those coloring books.
Honey, I need more peach.
Yeah. No, I don't think anyone's mad that there are adult coloring books, but I just think that why do you have to put the designation of adult on there? Just, you can have coloring books that are more complex and people of all ages can enjoy them.
Yeah, and they're really, there are some tough coloring books out there that really are more for colored pencil. I don't think you could get a crayon in some of those little shapes.
Yeah.
So, a little brown in here, a little dull at the bottom. Something's reflected in there. Bottom of this leg. White. And then we can mix it back in with our ultramarine. All right.
Those pants are popping.
Pants are popping.
Rick says, I use polychromos pencils with my oil pastel paintings. Works well with pastels. I've never tried that before, but one of the things I like about the polychromos pencils is they're very hard, especially compared to the Prismacolor Premier pencils. So I like using the polychromos pencils for very detailed drawings. Polychromos also requires layering. Because of their hardness, though, I would think that it would be very difficult to not put indentations in oil pastel applications with those pencils, especially when you use a very soft oil pastel like the Sennelier oil pastel. But I'll have to give that a shot sometime. Margaret says, guys, maybe they are referring to more intricate coloring books as adult as opposed to crayon and colored children's books. Yeah, I know, Margaret. I know that they're talking about more complex coloring books.
Oh, yeah.
But those can also be for anyone of any age. What I'm trying to say is that when people say adult coloring books, it kind of has a little bit of it kind of insinuates that coloring is a child's activity. Do you understand?
Yeah, I get it.
And that these books are specifically for adults doing a child's activity. Where being an artist, and you guys are artists who are watching this, that should offend you a little bit, that coloring is considered an activity for children. Where coloring or adding color to a drawing, whether you want to call it coloring, painting, or drawing, or whatever, is an activity for anyone of any age. It's you don't have to say, okay, well, we made this coloring book for you, but these are for adults, and we know that coloring is a child's activity.
For the adults that color.
That's the angle I'm coming at. Right?
Yeah. Well, I made a coloring book that is not complicated in terms of its shapes, like really tiny shapes, but it's called a 3D coloring book, and that's the title. And
Mm-hmm.
it is intended for shading. Like it's got a lot of
Mm-hmm.
um, cross contour lines and shapes instead. Many of the designs are non-objective, and it's really meant. I actually use them in the classroom, and it's really just meant for practicing gradation and shading. So that is 3D coloring book.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't want to be misunderstood here. There's no hate for adult coloring or adult coloring books
No.
coming from us.
That's not at all, because I've got one for sale on Amazon.
No, no hate at all.
So
it's the
understand.
it's the designation of it being for adults. When I think I'm just upset that it's stereotypical that coloring is a child's activity when it shouldn't be considered a child's activity. It should be considered everybody activity at all ages. All right, you have 11 minutes left on the timer.
We're okay then, because we're almost done with our hands, and we'll bust our background out.
I like those little pops of color in unexpected locations.
Yeah, and we've got highlights and stuff, more of that kind of business, hopefully, near the end. And of course, that white, we'll go over it with the yellow. Yeah. Let's see now. I believe I've got a little bit the leg left skipped over because it needed some black. And of course, the black that's around the edges, hopefully it's going to, in places like the head and this leg, hopefully that's going to work better when there's actually a background. Being that we're working on black paper right now, almost like I'm hiding those parts. Blue into the black. And then we've been using all this blending tools a lot. All right. Just going to look at it for a minute.
Got some compliments on the color scheme you're using there.
All right, let's jump into the background a little bit, work around our edges and such, and then we can maybe get back into our man just a little bit more, lightening and darkening parts. So this set of oil pastels is the small set, which means more mixing, and it doesn't come with a gray. So I'm going to go ahead and put down white lightly, where we see those are actually pictures on the wall of other Lego. They're Lego themed pictures. I know you can't tell because of the camera's blur effect, but those are Lego themed pictures at my son's play area. So, and in any case, they're tilted, and I think it was good to have them in there since our figure is tilted also, so that it looks intentional and doesn't look like we just didn't have a grasp of what straight up and down is when we drew our figure. So we're going to keep those in. Now, one thing is, without having a gray, this is going to slow us down a little bit. Hopefully not too much. Oil pastels are fast medium, typically.
That looser background like that actually adds more contrast between the background and the foreground now.
Kind of like the photo with the, being blurred out,
right?
In a different way.
Right.
Yellow farther out there. Okay. Now, sometimes I have to get my head down pretty low to see sort of around this wide oil pastel stick. I do have some sharper edges and corners, and I'm actually recreating an edge right now that I might need later. But it's tough to see those edges and corners sometimes from getting A little bit lower.
Nancy Durham says 2 legs. And yeah, there are 2 legs.
Yeah, there's 2.
But the thing with the Legos is there's not really a space between.
There's a little
the legs.
space here, and I drew it in. I don't know if it's a space or just a reflection on the inside of this leg. You can see it in the reference.
I think it's a reflection.
But
yeah.
we haven't put it in yet. It's about the same gray as the background, so it's going to go in with the background. That'll help you see both legs. And then also, the legs need to get a little darker, and that'll make that space that divides them. Or maybe it's just a reflection of the inside of the leg on our left. But either way, it's going to help us differentiate the 2 legs a little bit better, both of those things.
The background's making a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, you can just see the darkness now, you know? All those really strong dark shadows weren't doing their work. Okay. And then we got just this little, whatever's going on right there. So we'll start to put that in. All right, let's switch over to our black now. Black is very powerful.
Yeah, lots of comments about the background, making it a lot stronger.
It's starting to, and I know we're losing it, but we'll go back over it with white again. Of course, that's the part that's going to take a little more time with this smaller set. If I had a gray, I could probably just mix a gray with black for the background, or gray with white, you know, depending on how the gray started in terms of its value. But working with black and white to make a gray area, I'm going to have to go over this again to mix it. I'm going to do that probably with the white. So let's give it a shot. There we go. So now we're getting more of a gray.
Yeah, that lighter value really makes it pop out.
Getting enough material.
We got a question on what's your advice on selling artwork? And since Ashley's at the end of this drawing is concentrating to get finished real quick, I'll give you my advice real quick. What I would do is think about how, when I used to work with clients who would commission me to do mostly house portraits, what I would do is I would get all the photo references and analyze the amount of detail and other factors like how many bushes and trees and things were around the subject. And I would formulate how long I thought it would take me to do the drawing. And I would charge a flat rate per hour. And that is a really easy way to explain to customers why the price is what it is. So let's say a drawing was going to take me 15 hours to complete, and my rate was $100 per hour, just to make it real simple. So that drawing would cost the customer $1,500. That's a real simple example of how you can formulate how you can charge, but also have a reasonable reason for your charging. Not all artists choose to price their work that way. Some artists just create the art and put a price tag on it. And art that's in a gallery or through some type of broker is going to be higher priced because the gallery is going to take a pretty substantial cut from that amount.
Or more.
So I would price according to an hourly rate. Decide how much your time is worth. And if you're just starting out, that should be a low amount per hour, and you can raise it as you get more experience. But that's a real simple way and a great way to validate the work that you've put into an artwork, because not everyone understands that. Some people who might commission you to do art might scoff at a price tag of $1,500, not realizing that it would take you 15 hours to create that artwork.
They think you just kind of wave your hands.
Right.
And it happens.
There's a reason why it's called an artwork, and that's because you have to work at it. You have to put work in it to complete it. So don't underprice yourself, but also don't overprice yourself with unrealistic expectations. So a good way to do that, again, is just to come up with an hourly rate for yourself. And what I used to do with my customers is I would give them the estimate. And if it took me longer than 15 hours, I still only charged them for 15 hours. I charged them what I estimated.
So your estimate was your price.
Right. If I went under that, if I could complete the drawing in 10 hours, they were still charged $1,500 for the drawing because that was the estimate that I gave them. It just was able to work a little bit faster. I think honesty is important. And a follow-up question, should you add material use to the cost of the artwork? Absolutely, but it depends on the material that you're using. Most art materials are relatively inexpensive compared to the cost of a finished piece of artwork. But if you are a working artist and you are selling your artwork, of course you can, this is not tax advice, but if you are reporting your earnings like you should, and you can also deduct for the art materials that you purchase, that you use to sell artwork. Again, this is not tax advice. I am not a tax professional, but I do think that you could probably do that. So I like the blue that you're adding and the hints of red there in the last 51 seconds.
Well, I've got to go back to the mannequin, the Lego man. So may go over by a few seconds. I got to put a few touches of white in there. It's a couple of little tiny highlights.
Yeah, you're not just someone else followed up here. You're not, and their comment is you're not just paying for the time, but for the materials and the years of experience that have enabled you to create. Yeah, that's why I said when you're first starting out selling your art, your prices need to be low so that you can get experience, and then over time you can increase them as your name gets a little bit more known and you have more examples of artwork to share. Then your prices can go up just a little bit or as much as you want them to. But yeah, you can always put in the cost of the materials as well. I always gave my folks the option of me framing the artwork, and I always matted the artwork free of charge. So I would send the artwork to the clients matted. If they requested a frame, I would frame the artwork, and there would be a little upcharge for that. So I would charge a little bit more than the cost of the framing materials. Pretty simple, straightforward business. And if you are upright, if you are upfront and honest with your clients, then they're going to appreciate that, of course. And they'll come back to you for more business in the future.
And they'll talk about you.
That's right.
You'll get more business from their friends.
All right, it looks like you're adding the shiny texture now with some
just adding a few
carefully placed highlights.
Right, just a few little light spots in there.
Well, your drawing is looking very painterly now. I like it.
Thank you.
I like it. I like how painterly it looks, and how it's strange is the wrong word. You know, it's not necessarily, it's not strange. Strange is the wrong word. What is it?
Disconcerting.
Disconcerting? Okay, I can see that. Yeah.
Oh boy, that is the scary Lego man. Yeah. I think my son will like it. All right, well, the time is up. I did get my little crisp little shiny highlights on there, and they're extra bright, and I think I'm okay with it. I keep touching them. Tone them down little bits, maybe. Let's see. And Nat, I don't want to stop.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
Like all kinds of little things I want to do.
In 45 minutes, you are just in the time. You are just in the groove at this point.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Right. It's time to get going. Time to go to work. All right. Well, that's our sketch. That's our 45-minute sketch, and I think this would be a cool as a study for maybe an oil painting or something like that. A huge oil painting. Yeah. You know, with the Lego man that's about 2 or 3 feet. I think that would be cool. But Overall, I like it. I like that the oil pastel gave a little bit of added a little bit of movement and energy to the Lego man, because he's so smooth and slow and sort of static, the smooth plastic parts. So
now you got to remove the tape,
yeah,
of course,
right.
because that's going to make this have a little bit more of an impact.
I think so, but there's so much darkness around the edge.
Oh, I think I'm
not sure if it's going to add anything.
It's going to work.
All right, let's check it out. We'll peel the tape off now. And I considered taking the white or an orange maybe and just drawing around the tape and putting a drawn border on there.
Yeah, it definitely needs a white mat.
Yeah. So I think it'll look good if it's displayed right. A little bit of tearage because I didn't tape my pants or my shirt with the masking tape, but the paper seems it tore a little bit here, so I'll make sure I pull low and away at the top. That last piece is the dangerous one. All right, there we go. So yeah,
he's trying to get away.
You can see most of the border. You lose it a little bit down here in this corner, so it's not as effective. What in the world? Just little white speck there. Okay.
No telling what's falling on.
All right. It's probably one of these chunks of white oil pastel lost a piece.
Maybe so.
It was tumbling down. All right, that's it. There's our scary, ominous drawing of a Lego man, or Legozilla.
Legozilla.
So last time I drew a black and white image that had almost no light source because of all the atmosphere, and it was a little bit of a struggle. So this time I was going color, bright, and strong light source. Just the contrast just makes it easier.
I think it's a cool little sketch there.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
All right. Love it. Looks great. So cool. He looks great. Quite otherworldly. Amazing. Thanks as always. It is beautiful. I love the shadow on the front. So lots of good comments.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the lighting made it. It paid to take 30 pictures of this little guy, because this was actually the last one. When I took it, I was like, "Ooh, I think I can work with that," and I put the camera down.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and transition over here.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching that drawing develop just as much as I did. It sure was fun, and I'm really impressed with the result. Pretty
okay, good.
But it's pretty cool. The way
cool.
It has that kind of weird. I can't put my finger on it. It's
just
not
kind of eerie.
strange.
It's eerie, ominous, maybe.
Yeah, it's just when you see a toy like that, it's kind of like those paintings people do of dolls.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes you feel a little.
Well, let me tell you, my son.
Strange.
If you've seen Toy Story, I call my son Sid all the time, because he makes scary things out of his toys.
You blow him up.
Yeah, he gets so mad when I call him Sid, but he's always taking the heads off of things, and he uses my kneaded erasers to add growths to them and stuff like that. So I think a scary looking Lego man is going to be right up his alley. I think he's going to like it. That's the way he plays with his toys. It's kind of scary.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Just a reminder: next week we're gonna be off for vacation. We're gonna take a break next week, and we'll be back the following Wednesday after that live. And I'll be doing the drawing that week. I can tell you I won't be using pastels because I've already used those. I won't be using oil pastels because Ashley used them this week. And you used charcoal the first week.
I did, but we'd repeat some things, just not right up against each other.
Yeah, well, I got to have a markers and colored pencil one in there somewhere. So maybe that'll be.
And I'll probably even do a pencil drawing at some point in the season. Just so we don't get too far away from our greatest love, pencils.
Yeah, well, since I'm doing that graphite drawing right now.
Boy, you're not going to want to see any more pencils after that.
I think I might take a break with graphite.
At least not at the same time.
A couple weeks after that.
Yeah, it makes
anyway,
sense.
We're jibber jabbing now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you liked it, leave a comment below, of course, and we'll see you when we do it again. And we're going to go ahead and sign out here and get ready for the next broadcast for members at virtualinstructor.com. Good night, everybody.